Okay, DW, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Welcome, everybody, to Dr. Becky's Clinic, and we're just excited to have you here and to learn about what's going on with Sisel products. And you're kind of getting the inside scoop of the inside scoop. So it's just amazing what we have our hands on when it comes to Dr. Becky. And had a chance this last weekend to spend some time with her and just sit down and just hear her heart. And her heart's about empowering you to understand how to talk about the products and bring them forward. And so you're going to want to stop, get a notepad, and just jot down a few notes. And we'll also have this recorded where we can get it back out to you as well, so you can take some additional notes. And then each week be promoting. You know, someone just gave me a call a few minutes ago, and I said, hey, hop on this call. You're going to learn quite a bit, and they are doing so. We'll jump right into the topic. We're going to get into a product called Eternity. It's kind of an interesting name, and I'm not going to spoil why it's called that. I'll let Dr. Becky get into some of that. And but it deals with a component or something that has been quite popular called Resveratrol, which she'll pop into that as well. So, Dr. Becky, tonight you're going to be talking about Eternity and Resveratrol. But before you jump into some of those key issues and subjects and you kind of tackle that, share with our audience some of the clinical cases that you've gone through, that you've experienced and you've seen in your practice, and maybe some of those cases, if you'd had some of these Sisel products, how would that have impacted your practice if you'd had Tom stuff? Well, a lot of us refer to it sometimes as Tom stuff, but if you had these medicinal therapeutic nutraceuticals, how would that have impacted your practice?
It would impact the production. And just by way of background, for anyone that's new that does not know what I did practice when I was in traditional medicine, I was a gastrointestinal specialist for 13 years in Tucson and retired 10 years ago to pursue natural therapies for my patients and for anybody that, you know, I established relationships with. And it's been such a great ride since I left traditional medicine. But what I want to do with these calls is really impart to all of you what I saw in my clinical practice and why I am so strong about nutritional supplementation in terms of the fact we're so toxic as a society and we're so nutritionally bankrupt as a society. And tonight I chose Eternity to speak about. It's the first of a 3-part series in regards to the Triangle of Life. And all of these products are synergistically put together. So you can use all of them. The Triangle of Life, the 3 products, Eternity, Fucoidan, and the Spectramax are meant to be taken together and every day and something to supplement your life. And so I started with Eternity because I'm going to get into Resveratrol, which is the main ingredient, but it's an ultimate anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It also has so much to do with anti-aging. But when I was thinking about my discussion this evening, I looked back at my practice and I thought, you know, the inflammatory conditions that I saw in gastroenterology were just paramount in terms of how people suffered from inflammation of the joints, inflammation of their intestines. Some of you may have heard of inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, but all of us have heard of arthritic conditions, so general osteoarthritis, psoriatic arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and then people that suffer from systemic lupus, fibromyalgia. So inflammatory conditions are very toxic conditions, and they're very epidemic. In fact, you know, I was looking at statistics today. It's estimated as of 2013 that 53 million Americans had already been told by their doctor that they carried an inflammatory condition. It has everything to do with toxicity, everything to do with the fact that our foods don't give us the ability to push the inflammation out because inflammation happens due to toxicity. So in my practice, being a gastrointestinal specialist, and I took care of the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, the colon, liver, pancreas, gallbladder, one of the deadliest things that I saw in my practice was GI bleeding. And if you know anything about what a gastrointestinal specialist does, I did colonoscopies and upper endoscopies, and I did them pretty much every day, several times a day. And a lot of times it was for screening purposes. So if you came to see me for colon cancer screening, I do a colonoscopy to look for cancer, to look for polyps, but also look for inflammatory issues, look for diverticulosis, you know, anything that we'd need to be concerned about going forward. Upper endoscopies, I looked for reflux, esophagitis, gastric ulcers, small intestinal ulcers, inflammation of that area, malabsorptive problems. But the deadliest thing that would always get me up in the middle of the night when I was on call were people that were GI bleeding because they were on medications for their inflammation. So let me just start with this. The first level of medications for most doctors when people come in with inflammation and pain would be narcotics. Now, narcotics don't cause bleeding, but they cause a lot of GI problems. So when people are on Darvon, Darvocet, Percocet, OxyContin, oxycodone, fentanyl patches, Demerol, morphine, all the narcotics we've all heard of or know somebody that's been on, or maybe we've been on them, they cause nausea, vomiting, abdominal distension, constipation. I had people literally that would not move their bowels for 2, 3, or 4 weeks, once in 4 weeks, because they were so bound up from narcotics and they were addicted. They had brain fog. They weren't functional. So putting that aside, that was just a nightmare in general. But the anti-inflammatories that you've all heard of over-the-counter, like Motrin, ibuprofen, Advil, any type of aspirin, they put naproxen over-the-counter for a while. Then you have the prescriptions of Vioxx and Cellular and Feldine and Anaprox. What these do is they will block the inflammatory cascade from a toxic pharmaceutical side, and it can cause ulcerations in your intestinal tract. So I'm going to just share a couple of stories with all of you because when I look back at my practice, I had these products, Eternity and Fucoidan and Spectramax, at my fingertips. I could have given something to my patients that in my heart I really feel I could have prevented life-threatening, sometimes deadly side effects from their drug. So when I was on call, if my pager went off, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd get that call from the emergency room physician, and it would usually go something like this. And this is a classic case, and this is a real case. 26-year-old female, history of fibromyalgia. She's on naproxen and aspirin. She's in a lot of abdominal pain. She has black bowel movements, which means she's bleeding from somewhere up above. Her heart rate's elevated. Her blood pressure is down. We just checked her blood count. It's about 8.5, which means she bled out about half her blood volume. So I have to race into the emergency room. I have to get the endoscope, and we have to sedate her. And sedating somebody that's really that tenuous with their blood pressure and their heart rate is really difficult. But you sedate, get them as comfortable as possible. You start the fluids, you start the blood running in, the transfusion. And then I look down into this lady's stomach, and I kid you not, I see one of the biggest ulcers I've ever seen with a vessel sticking out, and it's oozing blood. This was such a big ulcer and such a big vessel that if I'd have touched it with even a cauterized area of my scope to try to burn it, to clean it off, she probably would have bled to death. So she went immediately to the operating room, and they resected half of her stomach and small intestine, and they saved her life. I worked really closely with the surgeon. But here's a classic example that she has toxicity. She's on drugs, which to me is more toxicity, and it has side effects that almost killed her. Whereas we have the opportunity with Sisel products to give you something natural that could possibly prevent something like that, and in my heart it will. So I looked at some of my other records because I have a lot of records with me. I had a 54-year-old male. He had rheumatoid arthritis. He was also on anti-inflammatories, but he had liver disease. His liver disease was very severe, so it thinned his blood out even more. So not only was he having the black bowel movements, but by the time I got to the emergency room, he was vomiting blood. But I was able to go down with the scope, get into his stomach, and cauterize the ulcer that was actively bleeding. So he didn't have to go to the operating room and lose part of his upper intestine. So what I want to impart to all of you is that doctors are in the trenches all the time. And for me, I woke up out of the trenches saying, you know what, I don't want to give these drugs all the time because I see the side effects and the adverse drug reactions. And right now, adverse drug reactions are the third leading cause of death in the United States. And the degree of drugs that we're giving for pain and inflammation, it's almost a 600 industry in North America right now, annually. So it's really shocking. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about Eternity. I'm going to talk to you about an ingredient called Resveratrol. And you're going to be amazed at what this does to support the body's ability to fight off the toxicity, to fight off the inflammation. And you know what? It's not a magic bullet. That's why Mom Senior has put together a group of products called Triangle of Life that you can take continually, all three of them together, to support all of the toxicity and free radicals that come into our body and that adversely affect us. So I wanted to lay the groundwork with that, and then we're going to get kind of into the pathophysiology, the chemistry of what resveratrol does and some of the other nutrients within eternity. So I'll go ahead and turn it back to you, DW.
And Dr. Becky, that's kind of amazing. One of the statistics that you popped out there was inflammation at 53 million. I mean, we understand if our doctors can help with inflammation, that it's huge. I had no idea. I mean, there's 30 million people in Australia. I mean, so that is almost, just a few million away from doubling what they have in one country that we're dealing with inflammation every day. I mean, that, well, even not say. And so, and we got something we can get people on. So your information and then the GI bleeding, I understand that. And, so that's very, 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 very intense. I mean, it's fun to be able to have some solutions. So appreciate your information on that. Dr. Becky, let me ask you this. Give us maybe we'll just start with some of the basics on the main ingredients that's in Eternity and Resveratrol. If you can kind of kick us off with that, you definitely 100% have my attention on what you're getting into tonight. But give us some of the main ingredients of Eternity and Resveratrol.
Absolutely. And I've always been fascinated with resveratrol. In fact, I have a full book. It's about 350 pages that's all dedicated to resveratrol and the studies behind this nutrient. And I say it's the 3 A's. The main thing to remember about resveratrol, it's an antioxidant, it's an anti-inflammatory, and it has everything to do with anti-aging. Now, on top of the 3 A's, it's a very cardiovascularly friendly nutrient, and it's also a nutrient that helps us lose weight. So this is something that you find within grapes. So the seed of the grape, especially the muscadine grape, has this nutrient. And what it's doing, resveratrol is interesting because it's an antioxidant, so it's protecting the plant like it's going to protect us when we ingest it. So the grapevine can produce resveratrol when it's under stress, when it could be having too much ultraviolet light, there's injury, or fungus, or some type of bacterial infection. So resveratrol is produced by the grape seed, by the vine, by the stalk, by the seed, to protect itself. So that tells you the power of nature, how it's protecting the grape itself and the entire plant. And so resveratrol, when we look at its powers to help the internal body, they're very, very strong. And because of what it does to protect the plant, it's called a phytoalexin. And you don't have to know all this. You guys can listen to the call again or send people to the call. Just know that some of the details I give you is just to build your belief in what this company Sisel has at its hands in terms of superior products and superior nutrients. But a phytoalexin just basically means it's an antibiotic compound like that, a natural antibiotic, not a synthetic antibiotic. It's a compound that protects the plant, and it can protect us. So, number one, it's found in wine, mainly red wine. And then it's also found in peanuts, pistachios, blueberries, cranberries, even dark chocolate and cocoa have small amounts of the resveratrol. But ours is from the grape, and that's where the strongest resveratrol is found. And what's interesting is the red wine part of it. When you hear about resveratrol, you may have heard of something called the French paradox. And that's how I heard of resveratrol. Because the French, they love their food. Their food is very rich and sometimes fat, and they love their red wine. And what's interesting is that a lot of the French people live to have long, healthy lives. They don't deal with the weight issues that we do in the U.S. And so it's called the French paradox because of the resveratrol that was apparently giving them the nutrient density and basis to ward off oxidation, and to give them the antioxidant power to keep healthy, to keep balanced. So I thought that was interesting because that's how I first heard of it. And just know that when you look at red wine in terms of the resveratrol content, it has to do with fermentation. So when you ferment the grape, for white wine, you take the covering off the grape earlier so you don't have as much of that fermentation, so not as much resveratrol, whereas the red wine you do. And if you look at grape juice, because somebody asked me today, they said, does grape juice have resveratrol? No, it doesn't, because you do not ferment it. So just know that when we bring in resveratrol into our products, it's a superior resveratrol, very high in its antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties, and then we're going to get into the anti-aging pathophysiology. Our particular product is a super formulation. It's very super concentrated. That's the other thing you have to understand. Resveratrol in very small amounts is not going to do that much. because we're so super concentrated, it does have the ability to cellularly really get into the mitochondria, help it to expend energy, and then we're going to get into the antioxidant properties. So, DW, I'm going to hand it over to you because I know you have a couple of more questions, and then we're going to lead into a great testimonial.
Well, we're excited about the testimonial and some things we just learned recently as well. But one of the things that you got my attention on there was that it has properties that helps, with just weight loss and just, getting someone healthier, then the body can lose weight. But let's jump into this. Dr. Becky, what does Resveratrol do for, being a specialist with what's going on inside this body internally? How does Eternity work with some of the other Sisel products, and what does it do for the insides of the body, the internal part of the body?
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the anti-aging properties because I think that's really important. And Resveratrol has properties by activating a gene. It's the anti-aging gene that our body has. We have it from the beginning, but this anti-aging gene starts to decline as we age. It's a sirtuin gene, and you could look at all the different studies, and there's tremendous study about how resveratrol gets in and it activates this gene. So in terms of activating the gene, we are now capturing, again, the energy from the mitochondria and the ability to metabolize fat and to detoxify the body and address inflammation. So we're going after why people are aging in the first place from a genetic standpoint, but also from the standpoint of allowing them to release toxic fat, which helps to support the body in anti-aging, and that's really key. So when we look at the fact that we're addressing that, we're going after oxidative stress, and we're going after why we're prematurely aging and having degenerative disease. On top of that, this works perfectly with other products. So last week I talked about TSX. TSX is addressing the anti-aging phenomenon by lengthening our telomeres, that little cap that's on the end of our chromosomes, that every time a cell divides, that cell is going to be aging and aging. And as the telomeres begin to shorten, eventually that cell will die and it cannot divide. It has everything to do with the aging process. So with TSX, with the astragalus that I spoke about in the bacopa, we're lengthening the telomeres. So we're allowing for longer telomeres, longer life. And you put that with resveratrol that's activating the anti-aging gene, it's potentiating each other to allowing for a longer life with energy, longevity, zest, clarity, because resveratrol crosses the blood-brain barrier. It supports our brain chemistry. It supports our dopamine levels, our serotonergic levels. Resveratrol is also important for cardiovascular health. So it's helping to open up the vessels, addressing blood pressure issues, addressing the pumping of the blood. So when you have more blood flow going through the vessels, you have more oxygen delivery, you have more of that blood flow going to areas that are inflamed. So this is a very potent nutrient that, along with TSX, allows for that synergy in the body to address the anti-aging. So I recommend that you do the TSX. You also take the Eternity on a regular basis. The other products that you should take along with Eternity, and I'm going to talk about fucoidin next week. Here's another antioxidant that's super powerful. Works synergistically with resveratrol, supporting the immune system, helping for support of our growth of good, normal cells and healthy cells. Great research on fucoidin that I'm going to get into next week about cancer research. It's very supportive in that realm. We're not going to make claims, but I am going to share with you a lot of important research you need to be aware of. So TSX, fucoidin, along with Eternity, and also I'm going to talk about Spectramax in 2 weeks, because that's an important antioxidant that's also going to give you trace minerals and ionic minerals to support absorption from the small intestine down to level absorption into your cells and assimilation and efficacy of nutrients. Now, you hear me say antioxidant a lot, and I'm very high on antioxidants because oxidation is related to toxicity and it's related to free radicals in our bloodstream. So when you have all these toxins coming in, we have 110,000 new man-made chemicals that have come into our environment in just the past couple of years. Air pollution, water pollution, food pollution, genetically modified foods injected with hormones and antibiotics, steroids. We're ripping apart our soils with fertilizers and herbicides and pesticides. We're just a toxic mess, and we're a nutritionally deficient mess. So when I talk about antioxidants in a lot of our products, here's why it's important that you take these products not only in the morning, but a little bit in the afternoon and a little bit in the evening. because there's thousands and thousands of free radicals running through your body that are corrosive. They're rusting your internal body. So there's not one antioxidant that's just going to come in and fix that problem. That's why Tom Maurer Sr. and Jr., who are both geniuses in this realm of formulation and science and chemistry, know that they have to bring in all different types of antioxidants to combat the thousands of corrosive free radicals that are eating away your body and your cells and your DNA and your vital organs. So the way I recommend things is that you're doing your TSX. If you're doing more than one a day, do one in the morning, one in the evening. If you're doing the Triangle of Life, have an ounce or even just a small amount, half of an ounce, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. That's what I do, because of every second of every day, you are breathing in, you're ingesting, you are drinking some sort of toxin. You can't get away from it. I don't care who you are, where you live, you're not getting away from it. So why not put something really high grade in your body that fights off all those toxins and those free radicals? So understand the importance of why there's so many different antioxidants in different products, because you need them. It's not like we say here, have just one super juice, you'll fix the problem. That's not the case. You cannot do that, not in today's world. Too many chemicals, too many free radicals, too many corrosive issues in your internal body. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. And let me just finish this question with the skinny part of this, the skinny gene. Because we're activating the gene that also is allowing the mitochondria to expend energy, you're fueling the body's ability to flush the toxic fat out. So your metabolism is increasing. So again, that's all part of that anti-aging process. So there's this whole homeostasis happening within the internal body because of all these products. So just understand there's a reason why there's different ones. And some people say to me, seems like there's overlap. You know what? There could be a little bit of overlap, and don't worry about that. There's no toxicity with the overlap. Your body will take in what it needs. It's water soluble. You'll urinate out the excess. But your body needs what we're giving you in all these different forms. That's why there is the Triangle of Life that fits in with the TSX, and that's why you're going to find other products that I introduce as a staple to all of you fit in with all of this. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of why we have different products, but they do different things and they support different areas of the body. And I'll hand it back to you, DW. That's
amazing. And so, a lot of people get a lot of energy from the product, and of course you get the free radicals out to what you're talking about, provides more energy. But when we're looking at the nutrients that are needed, what are some of the nutrients that play an important role in this amazing product, in the Resveratrol? So, we've mentioned a lot about free radicals, and can you just touch on some of the nutrients of this product?
There's different nutrients within the Eternity. Now, there's two products. So you're going to see online, there's the Essential Eternity, and then there's Eternity. So I'm going to talk about some of the additional nutrients in Eternity. They're great for brain chemistry and weight loss and for energy. Now, it's some particular nutrients. Tom came out with the other product that's just Essential Eternity, which is what I use, because I happen to be somebody that's a little bit sensitive to certain stimulants that have caffeine in them. I've been like that since I was little. My whole family's like that. So the Essential Eternity is what I take. But let me just tell you what else is in the Eternity. So in addition to the Resveratrol, and both of these products, Essential and then the regular Eternity, they have pigmented fruits like the pomegranate and cherry and raspberry to give you more of the antioxidant power that pigmented fruits and quercetin bring to the table. Now, on top of that, with the Eternity, we have something called chá de bagre, and I think I'm saying that accurately, but it's a nutrient from Brazil. It's actually a leaf from Brazil. It's been touted as a phenomenal weight loss product in Brazil. It's also been touted as a natural, safe diuretic, meaning it helps you urinate out toxic fluid. So some people will carry fluid in their body. It's called edema, and so sometimes it builds up, and especially if you bring in a lot of sodium or salt into your diet, you can have edema. This particular leaf from Brazil will help you naturally urinate that out. So again, getting toxic waste out. It's a really good appetite suppressant. It's something that's actually sold in a lot of teas, a lot of products on the beaches of Brazil. We have that as one of our ingredients in Eternity. So it's going to help you regulate your renal function. There's been studies that show it decreases cellulite, and also it's promoting that weight release, along with what the Resveratrol does to increase the energy through the mitochondria in your cells. There's also a small amount of guarana. Guarana does have caffeine in it. Again, I'm sensitive to it, but a lot of people love guarana and the fact that it gives them a nice lift. And it gives you a lift that's not going to give you a crash. Guarana is one of those that does give you the energy to focus the metabolism, but it's not going to give you the crash like a traditional, coffee. And then there's green coffee bean extract that has polyphenols. And that's important also as an antioxidant, something to help with weight release, with energy. There's green tea. We know what a powerful antioxidant that is to help brain function, to help fat burning. Also, a lot of studies, supporting cancer research with green tea, which I love. We all know the powers of green tea. And something called bitter orange in small amounts, which I know about because I've used that in the past with patients that had a lot of digestive issues. Helps with digestion, helps with absorption. It's very calming to the intestinal tract. So for people that are experiencing a lot of gas, bloat, distension, change in bowel pattern, basically irritability of the intestines, bitter orange in this amount is going to be very calming, but it also gives you like a nice calming energy. So there's a nice balance here with these stimulants for the brain chemistry and for the weight relief. It's very unique. I've never seen this combination before, and it fits really perfectly with the resveratrol. With the Essential Eternity, you're not going to have any of those last things that I mentioned, just the straight-up resveratrol, the pigmented fruits, and all the great phenomenal antioxidant power, anti-inflammatory, anti-aging power, cardiovascular support, blood pressure support, all of those things. But you won't have the extra stimulants of the caffeine. So you just have to make a decision. So if you know somebody that's very health challenged, let's say they're on medications for their cardiac issues, and there's a lot of people like that, have them go with the Essential Eternity without those stimulants. For the rest of us, we can, all of you that can, handle the caffeine and the stimulants, go with the Eternity. And I think that that's a really good decision-making on Tom Jr. and Senior's part that they gave us to choose from, because a lot of companies don't. They just, put the stimulants in. You don't have a choice. So I thought that was really excellent.
I think it's kind of exciting that the regular Eternity has an energy component, but it's also relaxing to your digestive tract. So that kind of caught my attention there among everything else.
It's interesting because Tom's done a lot of that with his products. I've looked at a lot of the nutrients, and trust me, it's been a learning curve since I got here. There's over 250 products, so I'm my paperwork's stacked to the ceiling, and I'm reading every day, and I'm learning, and it's been fascinating. But a lot of his products contain nutrients that are very gentle to the intestinal tract, which obviously I can relate to. But a lot of people don't tolerate supplements very well because they have a sensitive intestine. And it has a lot to do with our foods. Our foods really ruin our absorptive capabilities. They're really hard on our system. A lot of people are stressed out. They have a sensitive intestine. So he puts the nutrients in there so that we can drink it on an empty stomach and have the calming effect. So we don't have the gas, the diarrhea, the bloating, the distension. That's really important. And not a lot of people take attention to that as well when it comes to formulation. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. That's very important with his product line. And I am going to have you introduce your friend that I know you're sitting there with right now. Her name is Katie, and apparently she has a great testimonial. I have not heard it yet about Eternity, but I'm excited to have her on the line because each week I want somebody to get on the line and share with passion how these products have really affected them and how they're going to go out and share this with others, because this is always about affecting positive change with people, and you don't need a medical degree to do it. So when you change a life with these products, that feels good. So I'm going to have you introduce Katie and love to hear her testimonial.
Well, we have the pleasure of getting to be with Jake and Katie Byler right now this evening. And Miss Helena, you got so fired up, Dr. Becky. We're all about to go out and just drink an entire bottle of Eternity for
Me too. I got myself fired up.
Like, what? Gosh, I mean, we knew it was good, but that is just awesome. But kind of interesting, something that happened, and I'll let Katie share the story, but we get so many testimonials, and Marianne gets them all the time, and so does Lauren and Ray and a lot of the leaders. But here, everybody, just to the audience, here's Katie Byler. She helps people every single day. But this one kind of came home to roost. So here's Katie Byler.
Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Becky. Thank you so much for joining us here with us at the Sisel family. I'm just so liking your calls with all the information that we get, and just another great call tonight. And we've been hearing a lot on the call tonight about what Eternity and the triangle does on the inside of the body. But I really have just a quick, great testimonial to add that ties right in with that. And I understand it better now why it did what it did. after hearing your call tonight. But my little dog, she is 9 years old, and she had a scrape on the back of her foot. And anybody with a 9-year-old knows that in the summertime, a lot of times they run around in their bare feet. But this was right on the back of her heel. And when it happened, I was like, well, it's not really a big deal. It looks like a brush burn. But what ended up happening, she got a lot of dirt, and because she's running around her bare feet, she got some dirt and some sand in it. And after a bit, it started looking kind of infected. So I thought, well, let me. I heard Tom a long time ago on one of his calls. He had said about putting Eternity on your skin, like on a rash. And I also talked to Mary Ann, and she said that put some Eternity on it. So what we did is we just put some Eternity on a little Band-Aid and put it on the back of her foot. And I kid you not, Becky, within a day, that scrape went from looking infected to now it has just a nice pink look to it. And when I took the Band-Aid off, there was this pussy infection stuff, that green junk that was right on the Band-Aid. It had literally just took it right off. So now her skin is back in remission, and it has a nice pink little coating on it, and it's looking good. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to share with you.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful, because Resveratrol has been studied as a topical application for the skin, for rejuvenation of the skin, anti-aging the skin, but for wound healing. And because of its ability to be so powerful like that, to draw the potential infection out, I'm not surprised at that at all. And there's a lot of products that we have here that can be used topically. I never have a problem saying to somebody, if it's a great liquid like Sisel has, and you've got an issue with your skin, pop it on there, because the skin is your largest organ of your body, and it's a detoxifying organ, but sometimes it needs some help because it gets toxic like everything else. It's exposed to UV light, it's exposed to pollution, it's exposed to sometimes the stuff that we put on there that's not so healthy. So that makes a lot of sense why that happened, and I fully appreciate that. Thank you, Katie.
Dr. Becky, we're going to, I'm going to be a little honored here because everyone's wanting you to talk about, and by the way, the times you have talked about it, you've spoken with such brilliance that it made everyone understand it better. But when it comes to the diatomic hydrogen water system, that we have, can you, I know we're into Eternity and TSX and Picoidin and Spectramax, but maybe you can even tie them together on how this water system is going to affect the nutrients that we're taking, and any just little tidbits and insights. I mean, your audience just loves you to pieces, and so can you throw us some information on that?
Absolutely, and thank you for that, because the diatomic hydrogen water is spectacular for taking nutrients into our body in such a rapid way and helping them be more efficacious to our cells, because we're not talking about the alkaline water of the old days when that was touted as being something special. This has really nothing to do with that. And I think, as we're learning as a society, the diatomic hydrogen is going to be at the forefront for allowing our bodies to detoxify, hydrate, and then bring in nutrients. So every time I talk about a product, whatever product it is, I'm going to always talk about the diatomic hydrogen water, because when you ingest this, you're bringing in hydrogen. It's this small molecule that has such power to it. So when it comes into your body, whatever nutrient you're taking in, Eternity, TSX, Brain Vitality, whatever it is, like we have so many great products, it's going to take those nutrients and draw it right into the cell and bring it down to the level that the cell can use it. And the fact that hydrogen comes in and it can scavenge those free radicals, it's going to do it on such a level that's never been done before. So you've got antioxidants coming in from nutritional supplementation with Sisel, and now you've got this hydrogen water and these hydrogens running around and scavenging free radicals along with all the antioxidants. What we're going to create is a very clean body, a very clean internal system, and that's when you're going to start to see people transform their lives. The body's a miracle. I said that today. I had the honor of speaking again at Tom Senior's house this afternoon in front of 30 people that stayed after the weekend. And I said, here's the mantra, and it's always going to be my mantra. Your body's a miracle. Everyone's body's a miracle. But if you're toxic and nutritionally deficient, your body's going to break down. It's going to have metabolic disease and degenerative and inflammatory conditions and malignancy. But if you clean that body out and you do it the right way and you supplement with nutrient-dense fuel that's pure, like everything that Sisel offers, your body becomes the miracle it was meant to be, and it functions as a miracle. And then the healthy body craves healthy things, and the healthy body wants to exercise, and the healthy body transforms itself. And all of a sudden you go back and you see your doctor, and your doctor goes, wow, your sugar level looks amazing. Your blood pressure is incredible. You know what? You don't need this drug. You don't need that drug. That's the goal here. With the diatomic hydrogen water, it fits with every single nutritional product that we have. And Tom is a water chemist. Tom Sr. is a genius in this area. I've learned so much because when I walked into corporate for the very first time and he explained to me what was going on with water, it was like the very first time I understood it because I was always jaded by just the alkalinity. It has nothing to do with that. This is the hydrogen part of it. So we have a system that's not duplicatable at this point in time. So we have something that's so unique and so precious. It's going to improve everything: athletic recovery, endurance, pure hydration, assimilation of nutrients, utilization of nutrients, enzyme functions, the ability to absorb, digest, eliminate, let out toxins. I mean, it's going to do so much to keep this entire body in balance, and that's what I love. So, you know, you got me on my soapbox a little bit tonight, but I'm very passionate because I've never seen anything like this in terms of superior quality of nutrients. I've been around a lot of great companies, and I still use some products from other companies. But I have to tell you, the diatomic hydrogen water, no matter what you're using, no matter what you're eating, if it's really pure and good for you, it's going to help you assimilate it and utilize it better. It's going to be more efficacious so you can create that quality of life that you want. So I really thank everyone for being on the call tonight. I'm looking forward to next Tuesday. It's going to be a Coiden. We're going to get down and dirty about where this seaweed comes from and what it does for your liver, your immune system, the cancer research. We're going to have some testimonials, how you can utilize this in your everyday life to support every facet from your brain down to your toes, and just another great product in our line of products. So thanks, DW, and thanks, Katie, and thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Dr. Becky, absolutely amazing, and from your audience, we give you double hugs tonight for all that you're doing and for being there for us. That's fantastic. With what Katie said, I think now not only do I want to, in what you had to say, no, I'm going to go drink a bottle. I feel like bathing in it just to get totally detoxed and healed up. But it's just a blast. Everyone, just get this call out to who you can. Dr. Becky, thank you so much. And everybody, thank you for being on Dr. Becky's Clinic. We'll see you the same place, same time next Tuesday, except this time we're inviting you to bring a friend to Dr. Becky's Clinic.
Thank you. This is a wrap. Bye.
Bless. Over and out.